Good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. It is 5 a.m. here in beautiful Arizona. The sun hasn't come up yet, but we've made it past the winter solstice on December 20th, I think. So it's been a couple days, but every morning will be a little get brighter a little sooner every day for the rest of time. No. For the foreseeable future, as I prefer it to be nice and bright in the morning. I like taking my dog on a walk early, but it's too cold, it's too dark, but it's still beautiful here. All right, we are not working on a adventure quest today. Go ahead and close that. We are working on our 2D space shooter prototype. Let me get that open here. Space Raiders. Yeah, so I'm building out a prototype. I would like to do a 2D space shooter project for my students next term. We're teaching a Unity class next term. And I think it'd be fun to do a space shooter. I've done a space shooter in the past. And it went all right, but I would like to revise it, come up with a better one. What do we want them to learn? What do we want them to get out of it? So that's what we're working on today. We're getting our projects loading. Unity takes a second here. Unity's a big fat program that I think it's a little slow to launch and load, but it's a pretty fun, pretty fantastic tool in a lot of ways. Takes care of a lot of things for you, but also allows you to do a lot of bad coding practices. So the goal here is to, like, how can we do good programming practice, develop something nice, it's understandable. As a programmer, our goal is to manage complexity, right? Take essentially things and translate them from logic into code, and you can write some really gnarly, twisted, spaghetti-ish code. And so our goal is always, as programmers, to try and manage that complexity. Mike over on YouTube, that's my dad actually, says, "Good morning, Captain. Happy Monday, Dad. So nice to see you in the stream. I hope you had a beautiful Christmas. I had a beautiful Christmas day. Didn't do much. It was nice, relaxing. We went out. We were gonna go hiking, but we ended up, our dogs was limping a little bit, on and off. It was interesting. So we ended up not hiking too much. Went to a park that has like a big, nice, beautiful pond in it, and walked around that. It was gorgeous. It was a really nice day. Really nice. A lot of people there barbecuing. But we're gonna dive in here. Before I do that, I'm gonna do a quick sign on over on my stand-up channel at Captain Coder's Academy to describe, try and focus myself in before you just sit down and start coding. It's a really nice idea to think about, what do I want to accomplish today on this project, given the amount of time I have. It's good to think about time management, time estimations. How long do I think? What do I think I can get done in the next 2 hours? All right, and so I want to think, all right, I'm gonna be on here for about 2 hours, streaming. So the streaming will detract from my productivity a little bit, but it's fun. So last time we were working on the 2D space shooter, goal was to get a generative background. We're gonna got that. We got a title and a game over screen. So I'm gonna put in last time, goals accomplished. Added in a star generator for background generation, as well as a title, game over, insert coin, title, game over screen with insert coin button to restart. Okay. And then today, let's sign on here. Sign on. Today, what do I want to accomplish today? I think it would be I have several options. There's lots of things I could do. I think I want to add in a power up. Add shield power up, which gives player 1 extra hit. So a shield power up that gives the player some, extra hit. So I think that's the main thing I want to try and get done today. And then bonus, if I get that done, I think I want to try and add in sound effect. Add in basic music / sound effects. All right, so those are the two things. If I can get done today, I'll be really, really happy. So we're gonna see if we can give our player a power up here, which will give them a shield. And then if they have that shield, they can take an extra hit before the shield gets lost. And then if we finish that, which I hope we will, and we have enough time, we're gonna add in some music as well as a sound effect. Shooting, explosion, sound effect, that sort of thing. Little space sound effects. Might have to go find some sound effects first. Okay, so right now we have this. We run it, we get this background, like insert coin, our ship shows up. We can shoot. So I gotta make a power up. Oh, the stars are above. That's interesting. I want my stars, one little thing. I'll have to fix that later, but my stars show up above all the other sprites. I didn't notice, but I can see them on top of the asteroids. All right, so we're gonna add in a power up. Let's go find. Let's look at the assets that we have so far. I don't think there's really a power up looking one. We have a shield graphic. We're gonna add that in to our sprites. All right, so we'll have a shield that attaches to the player. That'll be nice. And then we want to get a sort of like a little thing you can pick up that will give you a power up. So let's go to our trusted, the usual suspect, opengameart.org. Lots of useful resources there. And we're gonna search for, I think, power up. Let's see what happens. Might be not the best search term, but we're gonna search for power up. We'll go with 2D art. We don't need any of this other stuff selected. And I mostly want to like power up, and I might add in the search term space into it to see if that helps. Here we go. Some of these look like they might work out. Yeah, this one here has like a shield, little shield. I think we're gonna use this. We'll use this because we have a couple different types of power-up signs. But before I just grab this, looks like it'd be fun. Fun to use these assets to make a little game. There's a lot of good-looking stuff here. The little explosion animation, I might even use that. But let's before we get too excited about that one, we'll look at some other ones. Here's some more power-up icons. These ones could work too, although these ones look like those first ones better. Let's keep looking here. Power rings. What is this? Flat clicker. RPG. No. All right, we're gonna go with the one. We'll mark this so we can save it for later. Let's see. Did I create a space? 2D Misc, Space, Fantasy UI. Let's go to our collections. We're gonna add a new collection for this game, just so I can keep track of all the stuff I've done. 2D, Space, Shooter, Space Raiders. How do I... Where's the make button? Save. Oh, it's down here in the bottom. Look at that. It's hard to find that little button down there. Description fields required. Assets or potential assets for 2D space shooter prototype. All right, there we go. All right, so now if I come over here, I should be able to 2D space shooter, add the collection. All right, and power up sheet. Go ahead and download that, and we'll see if we add those in here. Oh, what does that look like? Wow, there's some good. All right, we sort of hit a jackpot here. I feel like, which is nice. There's so many little power-up options and symbols. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, let's get this added in. So we have our sprites here. Power-up sheet. And we're just gonna rename this power-ups. And then we gotta slice it up. So this is gonna be a multiple sprite sheet there. We'll click apply. No compression. So one of the things is it's sort of pixel art. So if you want no compression on the image, otherwise it'll be fuzzy. So we want the pixels to stand out nicely. And then we can slice it up. So if I click sprite editor, we can come in here and we can try and slice it. I'm not sure it's gonna work super well just because there's all this extra space here, but we're gonna see if it can automatic slice. Nope, it can't. But we can do grid by cell size, and these look like they're all 18 by 18, at least the top ones, so that'll get us a good chunk of them. All right, so if we do 18 by 18, I actually get all of these guys up here. And I could go through and click all of these to delete them, and maybe I should. Alternatively, I could use GIMP to sort of edit this down to a sprite sheet that I like better, that just has what I need. Maybe they even have, let's go look at, sometimes they have better sprite sheets, like multiple sprite sheets. Power up sheet, let's see, power. No, it doesn't have it. I'm gonna be a little bit lazy here and just use this one here. Not what I want to do. I want to be lazy. Hey. Keep empty racks. Oh boy. All right. So if I hit apply here, we're gonna get all these, and if I chop it up later, it'll be an issue. All right, I'm gonna actually, I guess I should edit this down. The ones I'm really interested in are sort of these ones up here, so I'm gonna edit these in GIMP. Okay. All right, so discard. We don't want this specific sprite sheet, so we gotta do a little bit of editing. Can't be as lazy as I wanted. Well, let's open up this guy here in open with is somewhere. There it is. Open it up. You could do GIMP or Asprite, but I'll do GIMP. Asprite's a pixel editing tool. Pixel art editing tool. It was really good, but I'm just cropping some chunks out here. So specifically, I do love that they have all these A's, B's, all these other ones as well. But we're just gonna crop this out. Yep, and then we're gonna delete all of these extra stuff out here. So we have just those, and we've got 18 by 18. Beautiful. Kind of wondering if I don't really need to do this, but I was thinking I might move some of these ones over. So if I chop this out here, I could move that up, and then I have sort of a more condensed sprite sheet. I don't know that really matters. Maybe I move this one over. Maybe I move one of these over and just chop off that right side. I think that's what I'll do. So we'll move that down here. And I think that's about as good as I can get. Maybe I'll steal some from the original here. So let's... I want to get the original back. I can never... Not never. I know how I could do it. If I double click to open it again, a little... Let's see, can I open it again? We'll do a export as power ups limited. All right, and now I should be able to open this. Can I just drag that in there? No, probably could have just opened it again. Open with GIMP. There we go. All right, so I'm thinking maybe I'll add in. Maybe not. None of these look particularly great. It's just letters, right? It's really cool that they have them all. Yeah, I guess not. I guess that's what I'll do. So I'm gonna just cut off that end there, like that. And now I'm pretty happy with this little sprite sheet. So we'll re-export that. And we just have some blank space down there. Not a big deal. If I'd like to later, I could add some extra stuff in. Okay, beautiful. Now let's add this limited sprite sheet in here. And we'll call it power ups. And let's open it up. We're gonna say that it's a multiple, no compression, sprite editor, slice 18 by 18, and we'll tell it not to keep empty rectangles. And then we don't get those ones. So it had the other one just had like no background, it would have been really smart. Would have been able to figure it out for us. All right, so now we have these. They're sliced up into sprites for us. So if we want an individual one, we just select it this way. So this one here that has a little shield on it, I kind of like. And we could potentially have different types of shields. I think that's pretty cool. So we'll just pull in this green one. It's a little smaller than I want it to be. So there's a couple ways I can do this. I could increase the scale over here. I can also tell it, hey, pixels per unit on this one. I could do, so I know that's 18 by 18. So if I did 18 here, why is it all fuzzy? I thought if I set here, filter mode, point. There we go. That's what we want. Filter mode, point. So it's like adding a fuzz to it that way. Now it's too big, but so it's basically saying 1 pixel per unit if I set it to 18. What if I double that? 18, 9, 6. What is 18 times 2? 30. Is it 36? There we go. That looks pretty good. Yeah, I think that's the size that I want my power-up to be. And power-ups will just sort of move slowly on the screen and then disappear. The idea is like you'll shoot a thing, it's not gonna float down. So you gotta risk it. You gotta go risk getting it. But when you destroy an enemy, they might drop a power-up. And so the power-up will have a slow floating, it'll have a timer on it. So after a certain amount of times it expires. So it'll be on the screen for like 10 seconds, something like that. And then it'll start flashing and then it will disappear. And so you have an opportunity to grab it if you want, but you don't have to. How does it look in the game? That looks pretty nice, I think. Okay. So we have a basic power up. We'll call this shield power up. And we're gonna add a script to that. Let me think here. probably just call it power up, and then it has an on collect, an event that when you collect it, we'll do something to it. But we're gonna add in a rigid body 2D. It's gonna be kinematic because we don't want gravity to affect it. And then we're also gonna give it a collider, circle collider 2D. It's circular. And do a circle collider, and it looks like it defined it pretty well. We might shrink it just a hair, I'm not sure. Not what I want. Edit that. Could shrink it just a little bit to be on the inside of those pixels. But I'm not sure that's necessary. On the outside seems fine. So we have a circle collider that we can use to collect it. And then I had a player impactor. Am I using this on stuff? And then a destructible. Well, I want to, so I know for sure I want something that says after a certain amount of time it expires. So we're going to write an expire controller. And so it's going to be something that if it's on the screen for a certain amount of time, it disappears. So we're going to do a create script. Oh, try again. Create script. Expires. Expiration controller. All right, so the idea with an expiration, something that expires, is it has a limited amount of time before you can collect it. Okay, and so we are going to add in, it needs a couple properties. It needs I think the only thing it really needs is a quote unquote time remaining before it disappears, right? And so, yeah. So we're going to have a public float time remaining. This is going to be how much time is left before it disappears. We also, this thing it's going to flicker, so this thing needs to have something that can turn on and off like a picture. So we're actually going to add in, we're going to require that this has a type of sprite renderer. The idea is if you're within, 3 seconds of expiring, it will start flashing. So we'll have a time remaining, and we want to have this accessible in our editor. So we're going to serialize it there. When we, let's see, this is interesting. Time remaining, do I want a time remaining? Yeah. So this is fine. When we update, during each frame, we're going to reduce the time remaining by the amount of time that's passed. All right, so the amount of time that's passed. And then there's two things we need to do. We need to do a flicker, and then if the time remaining's, there's none left, we destroy it. All right, so we're gonna have two methods. Is flickering. All right, so we have one called is flickering. And these don't even really need to be methods, they can be properties. So we'll have a public bool is flickering. And it's based on time remaining. So if time remaining is less than 3, so we'll say for 3 seconds it will flicker. And that might be too long, we can play with that number. The time remaining is less than 3, we flicker. What's the other thing that we would do? So time remaining flickering is expired. And we're expired if the time remaining is less than or equal to 0. So if we have no time remaining, we're expired. All right, so we always update our time remaining is reduced by the amount of time that's passed. And then we're going to say if we is expired, we're just going to destroy this game object. Destroy this dot game object. All right. Else, what would we do? We'd say else if we is flickering. All right, so if we should flicker, we're going to flicker ourselves on and off. And this will be based off, we're going to use a sine wave again. The same thing we did in the player controller. So if we look at our player controller real quick. So in the player controller, we have this damage boost, right? And is it not here? I thought we did. Damage boost, max, stealth time is visible. We did this. All right. So if we are, that's fascinating. All right. So we're gonna still this here, and we're gonna do something similar. So we're gonna say if is flickering. We're visible if we're not flickering, or this is sort of like our flicker rate. So this is the cycle we're gonna use. So a sine wave sort of oscillates back and forth between -1 and 1. And so then we're gonna say, well, our oscillation is above 0, so it's positive, we are visible, and if it's not, we're not visible. So then we just say here, else if, even better, we just get our sprite renderer. We know we have a sprite renderer, so we can do get component sprite renderer dot enabled equals is visible. Even better, even better. And we want to do that before we destroy it. If we try and do that after we've destroyed it, we're going to get a null pointer exception because this will no longer exist. So we want to do it first. And it turns out that I think this is like slightly slow. I'm not 100% sure. So we'll want to cache this initially. So what we'll do is we'll do void start. So when we boot up, when this thing comes into existence, we're going to go ahead and cache this value. Try and copy and paste again. There we go. Format. Okay. So we're going to cache this value. We're going to get the component. Not like this, but we'll have a private variable here. Private sprite renderer. And when we go to this start, we'll say the renderer is equal to this. And then here, we'll say that renderer dot enabled equals is visible. So we should have a flickering effect with this here. So not too many things here. These are just properties. This is a hidden variable we don't see. So the cool thing about this, well, we'll see. We'll see the expiration control. We can just add it to something. We're gonna add it to our power up here, and then it sort of has an amount of time. So we have the shield power up. We're gonna add in an expiration controller, and we're gonna set it just so we can test it. We're gonna set it to 6 seconds. Time remaining 6 seconds, so that once it starts, we'll see it on the screen for a moment. We watch the timer go down, and then it should start flickering and gone. Okay, all right, cool. Not bad. Not bad at all. I like that. And it's still, so the cool thing is because we're just turning the sprite renderer on and off, it still has a bounding box. So even when it's turned off, you can still collect it. All right, so we have the expiration. Next, we're gonna go ahead and add in the power up script. So we're gonna create a new script. Yeah, so new script. It's gonna be a power up controller. And this is another one that's pretty easy. Basically, we're gonna say that we require a collider 2D. So this thing has to be collidable. So you have to be able to get into it. We're gonna say when we run into it, we're gonna apply an effect that we have. So the power up controller is going to have an event. Is that right? Let me think about this. Yeah. So it's going to have an event that takes in a player essentially and does something and can apply that effect. So I'm going to think about this real quick. So we want our power-ups to be modular. We'll have a shield power-up, but you could also have like a one-up, collectible. Maybe collectible would be a better one, but we're going to call it power-up. But you'll have like a shield power-up, you could have a weapon power-up, you could have a better shield power-up. Many different options here. But we're going to say that on trigger enter 2D. So when something can enter this and gets triggered, we check, is it a player? So if we'll do the following: player controller player equals excuse me, had a little sneeze come out of nowhere, so we'll do other.get component player controller. So this, so you can check the thing that I just collided. Does it have a player controller script attached to it? I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. And if it does, really we're gonna say if it's not a player controller, we're just gonna do nothing. Return, don't do anything if it's not a player. Otherwise, the code beneath this executes. So now we know that we have a player controller. And our power needs to be kind of versatile. It needs to be able to do different things. So there's a couple ways we could do this. I could do it as I could add in a virtual method. And then we subclass power-up controller to do various things. That's one option. I could also make it so that there is a event that you add to this that says, hey, when an event happens. And I think I'm gonna go with that version, because then I don't have to make a bunch of different classes. I think it'll just work with it. Oh, I still will have to add in methods other places to do it, but I think those methods I think this is the way I want to do it. I'm thinking here. Not 100% sure at this point. Let's try it. We're gonna make a virtual method, public virtual void on collect, and it's going to take in the player that collected it. So you could potentially have multiple player objects. The idea is now I'm going to subclass this. Is this really what I want? I think this is what I want because it makes it a little easier because I don't have to like have a player object ahead of time to attach to it. Yeah, I think this makes the most sense. So if we have a player, then we just do on collect player. On collect player. And if we subclass, it's going to use the subclass version. And I do know the one thing we want to do with all of them, though, is to destroy this, the power-up. When we collect it, it's going to get destroyed from the screen. So we destroyed this .gameObject, sort of the default behavior. All right, so we have a power-up controller, and I'm going to make a folder here to contain all my power-ups. So I'm going to have different ones now. But the idea is to make it easy to add new ones. So it should be relatively easy. Power-up. So we'll move our power-up controller in there. And we're going to create a new subclass here. Once it's done here, shield power up controller. Okay, so we have a shield power up controller, and this one is just going to extend power up controller, and we're just going to override. So we go to our power up controller. We're gonna say, oh, well, we just want to do something different. When you collect this thing, so it gets this sort of trigger thing for free. And now we can override this method. We're going to do some new thing and then simply call the parent class. Say, oh, well, do everything the parent class did. In this case, destroy the object. But we also want to do something new. In this case, we want to add a shield to the player. And so in our player controller, we're going to need to add in a shield power variable to sort of keep track of how many hits the player can take. So let's go to our player controller real quick. And our player controller is getting kind of, in my opinion, a little bit out of control. Has a lot of fields on it. We're gonna have to refactor this at some point. Yeah, so this is getting a little bit, as a programmer, our goal is to reduce complexity, manage the complexity here. And now our player controller is doing not too much, but almost too much. It has a lot of stuff going on inside of it. And so it might actually make sense to give the player another, component that's like a shield component or something along those lines. But let's go ahead and add in here, field, serialize field. And this is our prototype. So we're just doing a prototype, so we don't have to be too fastidious about what it does. So we're gonna go back where we refactor later. The idea with the prototype is you're building a thing to figure out how to do it. And then you'll go back and rebuild it from scratch, knowing the mistakes to avoid the next time. Shield power. And this will be a get. And we need to be able to set this thing. So it's going to actually be a set value. But we're going to do something special here where we're going to have a backing field. Our shield power should never be less than 0. So we're gonna do something, let's see, do I really want it to be public set? Or do I want, an interesting question. I think I do want it to just be shield power like this, and then we will do a private int shield power. So there's sort of this backing variable here. It's gonna start at 0. And get is just going to return shield power, but our set is going to do a little bit of logic for us. So we're going to do the following. We're going to say this is going to be a method. So we have a set value here that's a method, and we're going to prevent, and I can't put this here now. This goes here. On the actual shield power, that's the part that gets going to show up in the editor. And in fact, we really don't need this to show up in there. It's just nice to be able to see it. Well, in serialize, there's a couple reasons why you might want to do that. If you had like a saved game, this would save it as well. But we have this set, and the easiest way to do it would be shield power equals value. All right, we could just do that. But we're going to make sure that the shield power is never less than 0. So we're going to do math dot max of 0 comma value. So this will say, let's think about it here. Math doesn't exist here. Math F. Yeah, math F, because we're in Unity. It would just be math if we were in C# alone, but we're going to use the Unity version. We're going to add math F. It's saying that math F isn't a word, that I've spelled it wrong. So we're going to add it to my workspace so we don't get that. The idea here with max. All right, let's think about it. If value is a positive number, so 5, what's the max between 0 and 5? It's going to be 5. What if value is a negative number, 0 and -2, the max value is going to be 0. So we'll always end up with a positive value here. So we sort of have this shield power. And what we're going to do is when we collect a shield power up, we're going to set our shield power. So there's a couple things. We might make it so like this increases our shield power. And I think that's what I want it to do. We'll have a shield that can like have more and more strength to it. So shield, we have this player. So when we collect it, we have access to the player that just collected it. player dot shield power, and we're gonna increase the shield power by 1. So we can do plus equals 1. We could also do plus plus like that. You know, it's sort of give the same thing, but we're gonna increase the player's shield power by 1 when they collect the power up. And the other thing is now when we get hit, all right, so we have this handle damage. Oh, that's handle damage, handle fire, handle movement. Where's my get hit? I must have it. Okay, so things that can hit the player. Player impactor. Interesting. How am I handling? All right, this is a good question. How am I handling taking damage? On trigger. Oh, here it is. I'm trigger enter. If it's an impactor, I destroy the player. And so we no longer want to just destroy the player. We want to have it take damage, right? So the cool thing, so check it out. We don't even have to check this anymore. So we do shield power minus minus. We can just say, all right, reduce the shield power by 1. We don't have to make sure it's positive because that's happening in our setter here. When I do shield power minus minus, it goes through and makes sure that it's not below 0. And then I can say, if shield power is equal to 0, then I'm going to go ahead and destroy the player. All right, so if I have no shield, I get destroyed. If I do have shield, I don't get destroyed. Let's go test this out a little bit here. All right. I don't think I'm gonna have time to collect this, but when I also haven't given it a shield power up yet, actually. So it has the expiration controller, and then it should also have a shield power up. And the cool thing is the shield power up doesn't have any variables set into it. You could potentially make it so it has a number, increases your shield by the amount that you collect. And so we might do that in a moment. But let's see if we can go collect it real quick. Insert coin. All right. I picked it up. Let me pick it up. And if I go over to my player, I don't. All right, where's my player? My player here. I'm too slow. All right, let me pause when my player comes back. So I can select my player. And I have a shield power of 0. All right. What's interesting? Let's set this to 5. All right. So there, I saw it go down by 1. I can get hit now. Goes down. What's interesting is it keeps reducing my damage. I keep taking the damage. So what I want is, if I know what's happening, if I take some damage, whatever hit me kind of needs to get destroyed, right? So the thing that's hitting me, it's like hitting me every frame, and so my shield goes down super fast. And so in addition to destroying the player, the thing that impacted me is going to get destroyed. So then we're also going to do, we have destroy Smab. Happy Christmas, Halloween. I like your flaming, I think that's a flaming snowman, which is hilarious and contradictory. I love it. I love it. Happy Monday, my friend. We are working on our space shooter here. Trying to add in a shield power up. Yeah, so my player impactor needs to sort of have like an on impact thing that it will run. So it can sort of destroy itself if it needs to, and then I could subclass it if I want to. So like when you get hit by a boss or something, you won't die. Boxing Day. Gee, Boxing Day. I'm assuming that's some kind of Christmas reference. So you have like a bunch of leftover boxes or something. But I'd be curious, what is Boxing Day? So we're gonna add in a method here: public void on impact, and the player controller that we hit. And the default is just going to be like, oh, let's just destroy this thing. So I could potentially make subclasses of this. Oh, we got to make this virtual. Boxing Day is the day after Christmas. Yeah, I've never heard of Boxing Day. Fascinating. I'm gonna have to click on that. Destroy this game object. All right. And I've just been for my Boxing Day walk. All right, Boxing Day. What is Boxing Day? Let's see here. Boxing Day is a holiday celebrated after Christmas Day, occurring on the second day of Christmas tide, December 26th. Though it originated as a holiday to give gifts to the poor, today Boxing Day is primarily known as a shopping holiday. Oh, okay. It's the day after Christmas. You go back to the store. It originated in Britain and is celebrated in a number of countries. The attached bank holiday or public holiday may take place on the 28th, if necessary, to ensure it falls on a weekday. Fascinating. What is it's just like so are there, I'm assuming there's like in America, in the United States, we have what's called Black Friday. I'm assuming it's like a shopping day. There's lots of sales. Is that sort of correct? So the day after Thanksgiving is not really a holiday, but it's called Black Friday, because a lot of businesses, quote unquote, get out of the black, get out, get into the black, out of the red. The idea is lots of people go shopping that day. Gotcha. Okay, well, cool. So on impact, we destroy, and then we'll do as impactor dot on impact this. Okay, fascinating. Really interesting. You learn, I love learning new things. You learn something new, see if that little nugget of information will stay in my brain. Cool. Okay, so we have, I think we won't I think it'll be all right. All right, let's go collect that. If I can pause before anything. Player, I collected it. I did get one shield power. All right, and if I take a hit, I know why, because I'm a bad programmer. No matter what, we need to do the on impact. All right, so no matter what, we do the on impact. What's interesting is I need to do it before the player's destroyed. So I got to do it here. After we have shield power reduced, we do an on impact. All right. I think we got it. Let's try again. Make sure that when I start, where's my, I gotta actually click insert coin. My player doesn't have any shield power, so that's confirmed. I go and I collect that. I do get a shield power. And I should be able to take a damage. Boom. What? Ugh, this drives me crazy. Oh, it's because I do minus here. Okay. I'm only gonna subtract my shield power after I've checked if I should be destroyed. Fascinating. I thought I was being really clever here, but I wasn't. All right, here we go. If shield power equals 0, we die, otherwise reduce the shield power by 1. So I'm a little sad by this. We could do this cheeky thing here where we do minus in front or minus after, but we're not going to do that because that's cheeky and hard to debug. This would get the value of shield power, then subtract it, then do this. check. But we're not going to do that because you should just never do that, really. The only time you really want to do that is if you're trying to do some optimization in assembly. At which point, would you lessen or equal it in case you ever go with hits larger than 1? Ah, you missed the part where I made it so the shield can never be less than 0. So shield can never be less than 0, but you're right. We should do less than or equal to. That's the smart thing to do there. But yeah, I talked about, oh, we can do this interesting thing here where shield power can never be less than 0 because of this setter. It's not actually true because some magic horribleness could happen and this could get set to negative value. But ideally, it should never be less than 0. All right. All right, first try. Let's see if we can get this, failing over and over and over until... All right, I have it. There we go. We absorbed a hit. Is clamp more obvious instead? So instead of the max, clamp might be more obvious. You could be right. So I've actually found people are confused by clamp. Most people haven't seen clamp, but have seen this thing here. So it's interesting you say that because I used to use clamp all the time. What if I don't have a max, right? So int.max value. Clamp might be more obvious there. I could also just make it so that I actually have a max shield value of like 5 or something like that. And I was kind of probably going to get there at some point, but maybe we do a clamp. People so it's interesting. People get confused by clamp, which was so when I first saw clamp, I was going, oh, this is great because I so often do math min max. So I do a math.max and then inside of that a math.min, and that for whatever reason is less confusing than this clamp. To me, the clamp makes perfect sense. Oh, I want this value to be clamped between these values. But I'm okay with this. We're gonna go with this. We're gonna set the max value to 5, and these are magic values. So probably shouldn't do that. Q, happy Monday, my friend. So nice to see you again. Welcome back. We are working on a 2D space shooter here, building up a prototype. So no judgment on code quality yet. Of course, please do comment on code quality so I know when something's terrible. But we're focused on building out this so that I know the idea here is we're building a prototype so that way we can better understand how to create a good version of it as a project for my students next term. And so my goals for this project is create a project that gives students an opportunity to play with Unity's so we want to use Unity's update. So we have sort of like an update function that calls every frame, as well as positioning things on the screen and doing collision. I don't want to do physics in this version. So we want to know how to manipulate objects on the screen in real time using update, as well as how they interact with each other. Yeah, so Clamp has a great comment, I think. I mean, perfectly reasonable comment. Where is it? But yeah, the comment here for shield power should definitely be the shield power of the player's ship. This value is clamped between 0 and 5. You could just say that, right? Like that. Oh, what happened? It's like reverted somehow. Clamp. Oh, I messed. What happened? I'm so. I must have hit Control Z. My clamp. Shield. All right, I got it. Or did I clamp? Hang on, let's go back in time. What was I editing? It's editing my damage boost value. Wow, that would have been horrible. Probably would have been okay, but that would have been horrible, I think. Yeah. All right, let's put that comment back in. I liked the clamp here. Clamp value. I almost made a mistake here as well. 5. The ship shield power plant is a value between 0 and 5. I think, yeah, I just updated the wrong chunk of code, so I'm really glad I was paying attention there. And so it worked out. It worked out okay. It worked out just fine. Okay, let's go make sure that's true. And you might actually end up with like some ship upgrades or something. All right, so we can take 1 to hit, 2 hits, we're done. All right, so now I got that in there. I'm gonna make it so that if I have shield, a little shield will appear in front of me. We have that sprite. Oh, well, let me actually add my power up, my shield power up to my prefabs. It's getting a little bit hefty in our prefabs here, but that's okay. So we got a shield power up. We're going to make a on our player, we're going to add in a shield. So in our sprite, we have a shield sprite. Yeah. So our ship's going to be protected. If I just put it at 0, 0, kind of like it a little bit further up. So we'll move it up just a hair. I like that. So what we'll do is the shield will be enabled when our shield is above 0 and disabled if our shield's below, if our shield is equal to 0. So we just sort of have this thing here like that. Call it shield. And the player will have a reference to, the player controller needs to have a reference to its shield. And again, our player here just feels like it's getting so many things. I don't know that I like it, having so much. All right, we'll put the shield stuff together here. Really, this is a private field, so it should probably be down here. I think that is the quote-unquote C# way to do it. The preferred way is to put private methods after other things, or private fields after other things. Let's add in a public game object. Shield. And really it should be private. We don't need, no one else should be touching the shield here. But we do want it to be serialized. Okay, so we have a shield game object. Let's make sure that worked out here. And maybe I actually want to make this shield. That might be what I want to do. I might want to make an observable. Ooh, this would help reduce the amount of stuff that's going onto my player object. Would be creating sort of an observable, make player an observable, and then you can register things to do based on the player. And so when the player changes, it's like state gets reported. Stu, so nice to see you again. Welcome back. Happy Monday. I hope you had a beautiful weekend. I don't know if you celebrate Christmas, but Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday to you. But it's nice to see you again. AOC was wonderful. We finished it. I can't believe I actually did all 25 days in a row. 25 days in a row. That's a lot for me. I was definitely feeling burnt out at the end, but yesterday's puzzle was really cool. Really cool. Base conversions into a base 5 numbering system that had positive and negative digits. It was really fun. It was really cool. I enjoyed it thoroughly. But our shield, maybe, is that how I want to do it? I think I do want to do it that way. I think I want to make an observable, like a player controller observer. I think that's what I want to do. Yeah. So we're gonna do a player controller observer. All right. So the player controller observer. And then our player controller is going to have, yeah, this is the way to do it. Player controller observer as public. Is this right? Public void on change player controller player. All right. Public virtual. The idea is we have this. Zaid Bites, happy Monday. Thank you for hopping in. Thank you for the follow. Hope you're enjoying it. Yeah, so we have this on change. I don't think this needs to be a mono behavior. Really, this should be an interface. Like this, and then this should be our method. Is this right? I'm trying. I think this is right, and then our player. Oh, Stu, I definitely don't think I'm gonna go ahead and do. I didn't realize I wasn't. How did you find out that I got? So I think you're saying me. I just got affiliate. Thank you for that. No, I'm not planning on being an affiliate. I have no real desire to do that. I'm mostly here just because it makes me honest. It keeps me honest, gives me some motivation to work on stuff. And I think it's really important for my students to see the quote unquote process, like the programming process. So a lot of my students, especially young students, they get overwhelmed when they see some project. Like, how am I ever going to remember all of these things? How am I ever supposed to do this? Yeah, how are you ever going to do this? Oh, I didn't even know that was a difference. I noticed that your stream is no longer just a 1080p 60. That helps. But yeah, the main reason I'm streaming is because I want to have something my students I can point to and say, hey, go watch this thing that I did. You can watch the process rather than just thinking, oh, how am I supposed to do this? Because code doesn't just come out of nowhere. It develops over time when you think through the process and you refactor and you iterate. Yeah. Smab, I didn't even realize my stream had changed quality. I don't know if I changed a setting to make that happen. Oh, you're saying, so now that I'm affiliate on Twitch, there's an option? I don't know. I don't really know much of anything about Twitch, to be completely honest. I just found it to be fun. It's a place to stream. I'm rambling here. And I'm potentially over-engineering this. Exactly. You are a rubber duck. I think this is what I want. And let's rename this file then. And then Unity is going to yell at me. All right, so Unity's going to yell at me. But the idea is that I have a player controller. You are an affiliate when you send Twitch some signed documents. I'll have to look into it. I have no desire to have ads. I was actually really upset to find that ads were running on my YouTube videos. I didn't realize, it really bothers me that ads run on my YouTube videos, even though I'm not monetized. And I have no plans to really monetize, but ads are still playing on it. And it really, really bothers me. So when I reach the point where I can monetize, if there's an option to turn the ads off, I'm going to, because I don't want ads on there. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't want ads on my stuff. I want people to just be able to use them. So the idea here was, I understand YouTube needs to make some money somehow, but so there are requirements for monetization, right? So I am required to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time in the last year before I can like even attempt to monetize. And so the fact that you have to have that much before monetizing is weird. Well, it's fine that they have that requirement, but they play ads on it anyway, and you cannot monetize at that point. It just seemed weird to me. So I don't know. Maybe you're right though. There's lots of data being stored there from me. I'm getting distracted here. I was working on, I wanted to make my shield observe my player, and when my player changes, it will automatically update. No worries, Stuart over on YouTube says, sorry to distract from the game. No problem, this is why I'm here, it's fun. It's fun chatting with people, getting ideas. It makes me a better programmer, being able to chat with people. Yeah, it's kind of nice. Twitch has been really nice, actually. Power up. All right, I gotta focus here for a moment. My shield, I want to have a type on my shield that observes my player, so my player needs to be observable. Okay, so here's what we do. In my player controller, I have an event. Okay, so field, serialize field. Stuart over on YouTube says, I'm glad to find some live coding on YouTube. This is where I'll watch from now on. Beautiful, I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, the main reason I actually stream on Twitch is because you actually have people watching coding over on Twitch, but Twitch doesn't save your streams. It saves them for 7 days and then deletes them. So I stream to both, and YouTube is sort of my archive. But yeah, welcome aboard. Happy to have you here. So we're gonna have a Unity event. And I'm gonna have to import that in a second here. Player controller on change. All right. And this, I think, yes, I can do that as well. Let's import Unity event. So the idea here is we have this listener that when the player changes, when the state changes, it notifies people watching it to update themselves. And I feel like I already did this somewhere with my lives. So I'm like slightly, I actually just had it call it, maybe. The way I'm updating my lives is observing the player, isn't it? I'm not sure anymore. Now I'm just slightly confused. But the idea now is that when my shield power changes, we will go ahead and tell everyone, hey, I changed. So we notify everyone that was observing me that my shield power has changed, and to update themselves accordingly. Oh, I have it on my game controller. That's what it was. Okay, so now in my shield, like my shield view, I have a little thing over here. So I don't know if I even need this player controller thing here. We'll see. We'll see. So the idea though is my shield. So I wanted to avoid adding in my shield object to my player controller because it's getting so thick. So many things to it. So I don't need this game object. Instead, my shield is going to have a class. Let's see here. What am I thinking? My shield object needs a script that knows how to set itself visible. So not activate itself, but it's going to set its sprite render on and off. All right, so it's going to turn its sprite render on and off. So it's going to, I'm going to create a new script. I'm going to create a folder here for player, because I'm going to start putting more things in there. So we have a player impactor, and then we're going to need our, so I have some extra stuff that I don't need at this point. But it's a prototype. I'm rambling. So we're going to create a new script here. This is our shield sprite controller. All right, so our shield sprite controller is going to have a method that knows how to turn itself on and off. All right, come on, open. I believe in you. All right, so it is required. We'll close others. It is going to be required to have a sprite renderer because it's a shield sprite controller. It knows how to render things on and off. And the way it's going to do this, I'm really kind of happy about this. This is working out nicely. So we have a public void render, and it's going to take in a player controller. And it's going to decide based on that player controller whether or not the shield should be viewable. And so we will do player get component sprite renderer dot enabled is equal to player dot shield power greater than 0. Okay. So if the player's shield power is greater than 0, it's on, otherwise it's off. And then when we first boot up, I think we're okay. I think this will work. I just have to now register it on our player. So we have this player here, and it has this on change here. So we're going to register our shield on our player. And oh, I have to add the script to the shield. So this is going to be the shield sprite controller. And now I can say that we're just going to call render anytime my ship calls on change with itself. So in this case, right now, the only time it happens when the shield gets adjusted. So this should, if I'm not mistaken, when I go and collect that shield, it's going to turn our shield sprite on. So it starts on. Excuse me. So we actually want in our player controller, we want on start. Do I have a start method yet? Start. No. But when we first boot up, public void start, when this thing first loads, we're going to call on change this. So when it first enters into the universe, it's going to go ahead and tell all its observers, hey, go ahead and update yourself. Although this might not work. Things might not be active yet. I might actually need to just set the sprite to be off initially. We'll find out. because like the order that start is called is always a little bit strange, but I think this will do it. Yep, and if I go and collect that, there I go. I got my shield. And if I take a hit, comes off. Although the shield all right. Now if I die, okay. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. I haven't made a commit in a while, which is a little disappointing. Smab would be disappointed in me. But we have a basic working shield power. Get commit -m chore add shield power up. Yeah, that's essentially what I did. So it is sort of one feature. There's a lot of things that changed. We'll go ahead and push that up. And now I want to make it so that way when you destroy an enemy, there's a chance for it to drop a power-up. All right, so we'll go ahead and delete that. So that's part of our prefab. So we have this prefab with the shield power-up. And now our enemy on destroy has a chance to drop something. So we sort of need like a quote-unquote like loot table type thing. For now, we're gonna make it so every time an enemy ship is destroyed, it's gonna go ahead and just drop that power up, so we can make it work, and then we're gonna add in a loot table there. Smab says I would be. That means Smab is disappointed. Yeah, so this is cool because our destructible controller actually sort of has this on hit listener that we can adjust a little bit. So now we're going to add in sort of a loot table to it. So we're going to add a loot table script. I'm kind of excited about this. We're going to add in a loot table script. Loot table feels like a weird name. That's like an RPG thing, but it's essentially like how often is a something get dropped. So loot table controller, and we'll make a new script there. Actually, I hate doing it that way because it puts it in a weird spot. So we're gonna come over here. Let's create a folder for enemy. Move that into our scripts. And let's put our enemy stuff into there, into our enemy folder. We've got iEnemy. I don't even know if I'm using iEnemy ship. I might be somewhere. This has grown. This project's grown quite a bit from the very, very beginning. It's kind of cool. Let's create a new script. It's going to be a loot table controller. All right. And the loot table controller is basically going to have a list of things that it could generate. So essentially a loot table. So we have item and probability, and then we also need the ability to have sort of like a none option. So I need to think of the way to do that. Excuse me. Check for underflow. Check for overflow, underflow. Oh, in the so I think you're saying that this is an option we can add to our like CS project that will give us warnings for overflow and underflow. Oh, that's beautiful because of the int long stuff. Is that right, Smab? All right, loot table controller. Cool. So we have a loot table controller. Essentially, we need like a class called a loot table. So like we have a loot table controller, but we also have this more meta idea of a loot table. So I'm actually going to create a class called loot table first. And so this one's not really a script. This is like a quote unquote data model. So we have this idea of a loot table. And a loot table has, so we'll make this serializable so it can show up in our editor. And it's going to have entries in it. So it's going to have a list. So field serialized field. And so it's going to have loot table entries. So it's going to have a list. This is interesting. A list of pairs, or do I want to create a class for this? Probably should create a class. I wish that Unity let you use C# records. So Smab, something you're gonna hate about Unity is that C# records, you can't really use them. It tells you can't use them. You have to like enable something weird to use them, and it's a little bit annoying. So this is gonna have a list of. I'll just do pairs here. Oh, maybe not. Maybe this doesn't make sense. Maybe it needs to be directly here. Well, we'll just put this here. So we're gonna have a list. Yeah, it's partial support for them. So my feeling on that is that if you use them, you will be surprised when they don't work the way you want them to. So part of me is like, well, maybe I just should try not to use them. So right now that I only really care. So I'm gonna do floats. We have a list of float to power up controller. Power up. So my idea here. Public. So my idea here is we have a list of power-ups where this is the probability of it dropping, and then or like the weight of it dropping. I'm not sure how I feel about it. And then the actual thing that spawns. Yeah. So this will be a weight. The higher the weight, the more likely are you to get that thing. And then we also are going to have a public float. Drop probability. So this is how often it drops something. And then we have when it drops something, when there is something that drops, these are the things that could drop. And the weights of how the distribution of how that is. Okay, so we have this loot table controller. And we're gonna have a public method. So part of me doesn't like that it is. Yeah, we'll do this public void. What's a good drop or check drop? Check drop feels weird, but this we're gonna give it in a transform. Transform or something like that. We'll give it a vector to spawn position. All right, so this is gonna do some randomness, check if we should drop. If we do drop something, it's gonna spawn it at that position, and then optionally give us a container for it. Transform parent equals null. So optionally, we take in where we want to put it. Yeah, so this is going to be our loot table controller. Is that what I want? I think so. I'm not convinced that I want this part here. In fact, I kind of think there's going to be like a general game object container that sort of like power-ups go into it. So let me take that out for now. Okay. And so we're going to do random dot next. Is range the only option I have there? I really just want a number between, okay, random range. 0 and 1. Right, and then when I say if, so this would be float, chance, and say if chance is, so if our drop probability is 80, is less than drop probability. So actually we'll say if it's greater than drop probability, we do nothing. All right, so first we're gonna check, should we do a drop? All right, next we want to sort of get the weights of these things. So this, for now, actually, I'm gonna say these are evenly possible. All right, so if we're gonna drop something, we'll just randomly select something from this. We'll worry about the weights later because I'm thinking my students with the weights, that's gonna be difficult for them to process how to do it with the weight in there. So instead, we're just gonna have a list of power-ups that could spawn. And in this case, we will do, we'll just randomly select one. So power up controller, power up is going to be equal to power ups at index, create an int ix random range from 0, the default there is annoying, 0 to power ups dot count. We'll pull out that, and then we're gonna spawn it in. And so we'll do instantiate power up, and then they're just a plain old vector. I don't think so. So it just takes the transform parent and a quaternion. So I can't do spawn position here, I don't think. No. Wants a rotation as well. But I suppose I could always do rotation quaternion dot identity. Yeah. So I don't know how I feel about that. I might tell my students to, because the word quaternion, a quaternion, you got to explain that to them a little bit. I'm using it for rotation already, so maybe I'll leave it in there. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm not entirely sure what the definition of quaternion is myself. But we have, when we do a check drop, it will potentially drop something here. So what's cool, all right. So what's cool is I can go into my enemy ship. Now I can just add in a loot table controller to my enemy ship. And then in my prefabs, I say, okay, well, I already have the shield power up. Let's add in a shield power up. And we're going to set the drop probability to 1, which is 100%. So next, we say that, okay, on hit, when we're destroyed, we are going to go to our loot table and we're going to call, oh, I can't quite do this. Here, I thought that would be cool. We need an on destroyed listener. So we're going to add an event. We're super close. All right, so we're going to edit this, our destructible. And we have one more event. So in addition to on hit, we're going to have a private Unity event loot table controller on destroyed. So this will determine like that. So we'll serialize it. So we can basically say when we get destroyed, we're gonna invoke our on destroyed. On destroyed, we got to do it before we destroy ourselves. Dot invoke, and then, oh, is that right? Laser controller, destructible controller. This is just an event that doesn't take in anything. If anything, it should take in a destructible controller. Meneliki, I hope I'm saying that nice. Got a little super meat boy with a thumbs up. Happy Monday, my friend. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. We are working on a 2D space shooter, building up a little prototype here for my students so I can better understand how to do it and create a project for them. At least that's the goal. It's getting complex enough that I'm not sure I'm going to include all of these features in the project itself, but perhaps I will. Thanks. I'm glad to have you here. I hope you're enjoying it. Destructible controller. What am I doing here wrong? My loot table. I need to be able to call check drop. So when it dies, we pass in a vector 2. So it's not that this is destroyed. Exactly, Smab. So it's going to be, my goal is to have 10 to videos that are 10, 15 minutes long showing each chunk, as well as not doing the full implementation, actually making them, so showing like, oh, this is how you would add in a shield power up. Now you need to do a different type of power up that's a little bit different. Or, I created this observable player thing. Now you need to add in the next part. Yeah, next term I'm teaching an introduction to Unity, a 10-week class, introduction to Unity, for my students ages 11 to 14. So yeah, next term, starting on January 9th. It's like January 9th to March 20th or something like that. I think it's 10 or 11 weeks. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. But I need to, the thing that's going on here is I need to be able to pass in so my loot table. So I know I can do it if I just make this have a loot table, but not all destructibles have a loot table. And I want to register, this, okay, this shouldn't take in a vector 2, this needs to take in this thing here. It has some good qualities, both pros and cons. I wish I was an expert in it. I'm not. But we're, a big goal is also teaching like programming. But showing, I don't know that you'd have to have, there's Unity offers so much. It's like, what do we want to teach in such a short amount of time? You can only get so much in 11 weeks, and it's got to be concise. What are the things that I want my students to get? So really, this would need to be a vector 2. And we'll say that really, I think we just do this on destroyed. Moonray Murray. Go.4, it's good stuff. Moonray Murray says, I use Go.4 and I started with Unity and I didn't really learn properly, but it's with it, but Godot I ran with. Yeah, so my the big thing that I will, excuse me on the cough there, my biggest complaint with Unity is it really it gives you a lot of ability to really have very poor programming practices and not be able to manage the complexity of your program as it grows. And so you might be able to build like a nice little prototype that's fun, but then, oh, I want to do this slightly different thing. You have to like reach in and do surgery. So how do you do it in a way that's manageable? How do you maintain it? So as a programmer, right? One of the things I like to say is, as a programmer, your job is to manage that complexity, reduce it, keep it simple. And that's why right now I'm struggling with like, oh, well, what do I want to do here? I don't want to just add a million fields and a million methods all to one giant object. There's always that temptation. There's that temptation to do that. So it's, how do we separate the logic and concerns and design something nice. And Unity does provide some nice things like these. Unity events let us do this. So on destroyed is this thing that we want to do here. On destroyed is going to take in this. Okay, so when we get destroyed, we call on destroyed to notify whatever's observing us that we got destroyed. In this case, our loot table is going to observe us, and rather than doing check drop position 2D, we're actually going to take in a destructible controller. Compartmentalizing, yeah. And so now we're going to instantiate at our destructible dot transform dot position. So we take that in, and we're going to spawn at wherever our destructible was. And my spell checker is saying that destructible is not a word, so we're going to add that in there. It also thinks behavior spelled the you know, that way is incorrect. So now that my destructible has an on destroyed, so it has on hit and on destroyed, so there's sort of two things there. We can actually say, okay, well, on destroyed is going to take in this loot thing, so it has a loot table, and our loot table controller is going to do check drop. So when it gets destroyed, it's going to check should it drop anything. I know, G. That one drives me nuts. I'm going like, it's not that hard to have both in there. The default dictionary is a little silly. All right, so we should have 100% drop rate for the shield power-ups on our enemy ships here. These still do nothing, but our enemy ships, come on. You think I'd be better at... All right, so that drops it like that, and they only last a while. So I need to make them float down a little bit. So that's one thing I forgot to do. So my shield power up though. Did we write a script to, let's look at our scripts here. Speed controller, we do. So we just add, so this is nice. We add a speed controller to it, and we say, okay, we're gonna have a Y speed of -1 is probably gonna be too fast. Let's do -0.5. I should switch your dictionary from American to civilized. Oh man, that's good. That's good stuff. All right, so now when we get a power up, it slowly moves on. See, I want the power-ups not to come down super fast. So like you still have to risk and go up there to get it, which I like. All right, so, but we got our shield, we get 2. All right, one little thing that might be nice is since our shield can have a power of 5, it might be nice to somehow change the intensity of it. But I'm pretty happy with where we're at right now. Or even down at the bottom, have like a shield meter. Ooh, that would be cool. Have a little meter that, based on how much shield you have, stays full. And your shield could like slowly deplete on its own too. These are all ideas I'm having. But let's go ahead and make a commit here. We got our sort of bonus feature in here, I think. Did we? What did I say on my sign on here? Oh no, I did not get my bonus. My feature for today was add a shield power up, which gives extra hits, and then my bonus was to add in some music and sound effects. So have not reached my bonus yet, but we got 20 more minutes to try and get the bonus in there. So let's add in here, git commit chore. What did we do? Add loot table to enemies to allow dropping power ups. Okay, and let us make sure that went through. It did. On our enemy now, we don't want it to always drop a power up, so not that. I want to go to my enemy prefab. Enemy ship, we're gonna basically set its drop probability to, you know, what do we think, 25%? Yeah, a texture progress would be great for the shield. What would be cool, so what I think I'm going to do is when you collect the shield, it'll sort of fill up. I think I'd still want to make it one hit and whatnot, but like it'll fill up and you'll have like a shield meter somewhere on the screen. It'll fill up and you can have a maximum of 5 shields. And then there's this idea of like, oh, you could potentially have upgrades to make it so that the maximum amount of shield you could have is better, or at the start of a level you start with some number of things. But these are all going to be potentially bonus features for my students. Say, can you implement that thing? Here's sort of like a guide that'll talk you through it, but I'm not going to give you all the specifics. Instead, we're going to talk about the high level idea. And then that gives students some creativity to go down a path that they want, rather than having one set project that start to end. A lot of the best projects, the best assignments in my opinion, are those that have a level of creativity where you can sort of choose to do it one way, choose to do it your own way. All right, so we are going to add in, all right, so we finished open-ended, exactly. So we've got our shield power up in there. We're gonna try and add, I'm gonna do sound effects first. We're gonna see if we can add in some sound effects. As usual, we're gonna go to our trusty open game art here and see if we can find some laser noises. So we're gonna go for sound effects. And I probably actually already have some of these in a collection somewhere. But sci-fi laser. So I want laser and explosions. Oh, that's pretty good. That's what we're gonna do. Open game art's awesome. So one of the things that's really, really cool about open game art, I use it all the time. You upload your game. It's all open source assets for games. Music, textures, 3D art, 2D art. I use it all the time. It's hit or miss, but it's great for prototyping. It's great for getting stuff that you don't have to worry about licenses too much. And so check it out. I'm gonna add this to my collection for my space shooter. So I add it to my collection. And now if I go to that collection, let's go to my collections here. If I go to this collection, there is a credits file that I just download, and then I just add that into my project. So it gives me all the credits that I need. Yikes. But yeah, it sort of takes all of the licenses and does the attributions for you. So I love that. There's so many nice things about open game art. Highly recommend open game art. And if you're an artist, put your stuff up there. Make your stuff open source. There's no reason not to. Typically, there's no reason not to. If you're not, Anyway, I love open game art. I try and put my own stuff up there. I should upload more of my art. I have more stuff from this game that I should upload, but the music I've written, I put on here. And I actually have people using it, which is that's another thing. It's really cool when people use your stuff and tell you they're using it and you get to see what they're using. But yeah, we're gonna get this laser sound effect. We are going, I've already downloaded it once. That's really funny. That means I already have it. I'm gonna save it. It's driving me crazy. All right, let's go find it on my system here. Downloads, and we'll get our assets, our project folder open here. Space Raiders, laser fire. Bear with me here. Yes, to all. And now we got a couple laser noises like that. And so we're gonna just add these in to our project. So we have assets, we got sprites. We'll create a new folder. I like to call it SFX for sound effects. I'm so cool using all capital letters. We'll go ahead and add these in. And so we can actually make it so our laser picks a sound when we do it. So there's a couple ways I can do it. The way I'm gonna do it though is I have a prefab for my laser. And I'm just gonna add a sound to it and say, play this sound when you spawn. So I'm gonna add in a laser sound. Can I just drag that onto it? Yeah. So this is the cheap way to do it, so I don't have to like build some sort of audio controller. Um, a scripts folder, dev hacks, exactly. So we just have this set to play on wake. So now, when it enters the scene, it should play. So that should be pretty easy. Let's see how we did. Yeah. Not too bad. It's like a minor delay on it, so I'm not sure. There's probably a way to make it so that it starts. Maybe it's a loading thing. I actually think there's just a minor delay on it. So notice it doesn't start immediately. I'm wondering if there's a way to edit in the Spectre, but I might just edit it outside and modify it to be shorter, to not have that minor delay at the beginning. Yeah, I think I'm gonna cut it. I'm just not sure if I can do it directly in Unity or not. It would be really, really nice if I could just say, oh, well, this starts at this point in Unity. But I might just open it up and edit it outside. So we'll show it in Explorer. And I'm just gonna edit it with Audacity. Open with... Audacity is not listed here. I have it. Give me a second. Let me open up Audacity here. The first thing. All right. But yeah, I'm gonna cut it out. That delay. Like this, or just say no delay. Just go for it. Export as an OGG. I really want it to just overwrite. Hide that for a second here. Show an Explorer. This path, which I'm having a little trouble finding here. Audacity has its own screen manager, it looks like, so for file exploration, which is always fascinating to me when tools do that. Space Raiders. There you are. All right, Space Raiders, and it's inside assets, SFX. We're gonna override this laser one here, replace it, click OK. And there, now it should have a less delay. So let's check it out, see how we did. Yeah, now it's basically perfect. Oh, I didn't get to my power up in time. All right, pretty happy with that. Let's get an explosion sound for the ship. We got 12 minutes remaining, so let's see if we can find an explosion sound. Oh, I didn't know that there's a new Audacity. That's too bad. I guess maybe not. So I got to make money somehow, sometimes, right? But still open source, which is nice. I think it uses GPL though. So can I go find it on GitHub? It's probably on SourceForge. But yeah, I've written I've written a plugin for Audacity before to automatically like trim out some white space noise. So their API is pretty nice to work with. But let's get an explosion sound. Explosion. Too much. That could be a nice player explosion sound. I want a no. I want like a quick explosion. 9 explosion sounds. Chunky explosion. Too chunky. 8-bit. Ooh, that one's kind of cute. I won't use that, but I like the Maybe. Maybe. I want one that's not too long. I want one that's not too long. This one that I found here. Did I like it? It's like a little too long for me. That one sounds like a gun. I don't feel like that one sounds like an explosion. That's Boom Pack, 8-bit sound effects. Let's see if they have. Regathian, let me know if I'm pronouncing that right. Welcome aboard. Yeah, we could give creating sound effects a try. To fiddle with them. That's absolutely true. I've never actually tried to make my own sound effects. Ooh, this one's perfect. These are perfect. This Boom Pack. So we're gonna add this to our Space Raiders collection. These sound perfect. And we're gonna add those over to our project folder now. Yeah, I've done music. I've made, I like writing music. That can be fun, but making sound effects, I don't even know where to start with making sound effects. That could be a fun whole fun exploration. Stu, thanks for hanging out. Have a beautiful day, and as always, keep going, keep coding, keep growing, and you're welcome back anytime. Oh, so FFXR is a program. FXXR. Thank you for that, Regathian. Oh, this is cool. I'm gonna bookmark this. My students will love this. Oh man, cool. Explosion. Oh, what an awesome resource. Oh, so cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. Awesome. That's really cool. All right. I like that one. We'll make we're gonna make our enemy ship play this one on destroyed. So what's cool is in our prefab already, we had our enemy ship here. We added this on destroyed. So what we can do is we're gonna add in the sound effects. The explosion sound effects gets attached. We don't play on wake. Instead, we're gonna add in an on destroyed here. We add it in here and we say, when you get hit, you're gonna play. All right, so when you're destroyed, you play the explosion. So we've built this framework so we don't have to write as much code. It's sort of like these events, it's really nice. So I don't have to write any additional code. And now when my enemy gets destroyed, well, I thought wrong. Hang on. Let's see if it happens if I do a play on wait. That's interesting. I really thought that was gonna work. Fascinated. I'm fascinated that it didn't work. Let's see if play on wake when it shows if this is. Yeah, so when they spawn, it plays. Okay. I don't want play on wake. I just want to call. Oh, you're right. Thank you so much, Manaliki. You're right. I destroyed it, so it's gone. So what I need to do is I need to have like a sound effect. Yeah. You're right. So what I want to do is I kind of need a. I need to have rather than the enemy ship. Oh, it needs to like do something smart. We have to do something smart with it. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I want to minus that thing. Okay. So Oh, that's even more awesome that someone has it built into Unity. Oh, beautiful. Smab, the investigator. Awesome. Exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna do, Regathian. I was gonna say, oh well, there's gonna be a thing that I have to spawn to get an explosion, and so I was gonna actually make a new prefab. You read my mind. You read my mind. Now I can pretend to take credit. All right. Yeah. This was my idea. It was totally my idea to have an explosion prefab. So I'm gonna create a prefab here called explosion. All right, and we're gonna add an expiration controller to it. No, it won't, because it's attached to the enemy ship itself. And so as soon as the enemy ship gets removed from the screen, it's gone. Although maybe the expiration controller is not quite right. We have it sort of flicker. But if we don't really have a sprite attached to it, we should be okay with it turning on and off. I think that's going to be fine. Although if I make my explosion flicker, I'm gonna do this for now because I'm only going for another 3 to 5 minutes here. I'm not going much longer, and I don't want to spend too much time. But the idea here is that this is gonna have an expiration thing. This explosion. We have a sound, so we're gonna add our sound to this, and this is just gonna play on wake, so it'll blow up, play on wake, and then after 6 seconds it sort of disappears on its own. So another thing I could do is I could create like a sound controller object, like a class that controls the sound for the whole game, and then you sort of invoke a call on the sound controller. That's another option. That can be useful if you want to be able to sort of have limit the number of sounds that can be playing at the same time, or have like an audio track and you only want the audio track to be playing by itself. Menaliki, thank you for the follow. Sorry I missed it. I appreciate you following. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And as always, you know, it's awesome to be able to share my, you know, what I'm doing with the world. It's very fun. I often say that streaming is kind of addictive. I don't get as much done when I stream, but boy, is it fun to hang out and talk with people that are into coding and game making and puzzle solving, all the different things I do here. So over on our enemy, thank you. I'm glad you found it too. We need to go to our enemy ship here, and we need one more thing, like undestructible. We're gonna add in I'm curious if I can put the explosion in here. All right, so, and it's gonna be not active. Is that what I want? If I make it not active, can we still call methods on it? I think we can. It's just not in the scene. And the idea is on an explosion. I need like an explosion controller is really what I need. I thought I might be able to get away with not making something like that. Yeah, the more people in the stream, the more distracting it gets, right? All right, so we'll do an explosion controller. Create explosion controller. Moonray Murray, thank you for the follow. I'm so glad you are also enjoying it. It's nice to have you here in the chat. All right, explosion controller. The idea is that we have, essentially, this is just like a thing that can basically like duplicate itself. So it's going to have a single method that like clones itself. So it's going to create an explosion controller, explode, and it's just going to make a copy of itself somewhere. And in this case, I guess we'll do a destructible controller. So it's going to put itself where the destructible was. And it's a sense. This is the loot table. It works just like the loot table thing here. Kind of like this. But instead of a power up, we're gonna copy ourselves. Dota, hey, happy Monday, my friend. I hope you had a beautiful weekend. Hope you're having a wonderful day after Christmas. I don't know if you celebrate Christmas, but if you do, I hope you had a beautiful Christmas. So this will create. We don't even return the explosion controller. So you're gonna just do explode, put it into the world there. Sweet for your parser. This is for your parser, Dota. You got your chain of responsibility. I'd love to see it if you in that thread on the Discord channel. I would love to check it out over on the Discord channel. If you add a link to it here, I'd love to look at it. All right. So the idea here is that our enemy ship, we have this explosion prefab on us, but we're gonna put it in here, and our explosion, we need to add it to our prefab. Hang on. Prefab. Explosion needs to have an explosion controller attached to it. All right, but now that we have the explosion controller in our enemy ship, we can do this. We have an explosion controller, which is called explode, which will clone the explosion into the world and play that sound effect. I hope. All right. Fingers crossed. We're almost out of time here. We're actually going a little bit over time here. Come on. What did I do wrong here? What did I do wrong here? Let's go look at our enemy ship as a destructible. Our destructible, we call on destroyed first, so it should invoke it. And then I gotta set itself active. That's what it is. All right, so this will be explosion controller E. And what's interesting, see, this is why I'm not sure if this will actually work. E.gameObject.set active. True. I'm not sure if this will work because it's technically disabled, and I don't know if it'll invoke on disabled things. My gut tells me you can, but I'm not sure if that's true. And just to double check my explosion, play on wake up. And then what's going to be cool is my explosion, I can add in a particle effect to this object as well. And so it will automatically activate itself, start that particle effect, and then disappear after 6 seconds. All right. There we go. And again, it had the little delay on it there. So we just have to edit that sound file to not have that delay. All right, so I'm gonna do that real quick. What's interesting, Explosion 1 does seem, we'll load it in the background. It is working, but let's check it out real quick. Let's open this up in Audacity. Yeah, it should start immediately. Maybe it just needed to be loaded ahead of time. Okay, that's better. That's better. And I can get my shield. Beautiful. All right, all right. So we added in some basic sound effects. We didn't finish all the bonuses. We were gonna add in music if we had time, but we're out of time. 2 hours in. 2 hours in. Try not to go much longer than that. Let's go and make a commit here. Get status. Chore. Add in explosion control. Add sound effect. Laser has a sound effect. Add explosion controller with sound effect. All right, so there we go. We have it. Just push that up, and of course, it is on our repository. So if anyone wants to go take a look at what we have so far, I'll add it to the description in the video, but it's on the development branch here. So let's go that. I'm gonna post a link just in case anyone wants to check it out. Beautiful morning. We made lots of progress today. If you would like to see me again, I'll be back the next couple days, same time, 5 a.m. I know 5 a.m. is early. 5 a.m. in Arizona time. That's when I get up. Wake up in code. That's what I do. But I will be back tomorrow and Wednesday, and then I'm on vacation starting Thursday. So if you want to be notified when I'm streaming, feel free to follow. And of course, I have anyone new here. I have a Discord here where it's not super active, but I often will answer questions for helping. So if you need help, ask for help there. If you just want to check in, but most importantly, we're trying to keep ourselves honest with our stand-up, signing on, signing off, setting our goals for ourselves, our daily goals when we're programming. Anyway, as always, have a beautiful day. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. Keep on coding, keep on growing, and as always, you're welcome back anytime. We'll see you next time.